Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. And we usually start the meeting with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. God of justice and mercy, we know that you're with us at all times and in all places, if only we turn to you in faith. And so we turn to you now, seeking your continued blessings on those of us who have chosen public service, as well as those members of our community here with us tonight to join in our deliberations and decision-making. We ask that you would give all of us patience and the commitment to respect and to listen to each other. For the members of this commission, help us always be mindful that we are public service. Help us to hear with our hearts and to think clearly and reasonably. Help us to have the vision to look at the issues before us with wisdom and the determination to do what is best, even if it's not easy. Guide us in all we do to work for the common good. Loving Creator, we pray all these things in the name of Jesus and all that is holy. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Peter Hogendijk.
Present.
Dwayne Owens. Present. John Surbeck. Roger Burton.
Here.
Danny Wilcox.
Here.
Kevin Kirkwood.
Here.
Mike Buck. Van Sands. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, and I'd like everybody to mute their cell phones during the meeting. And do we have a staff report on the Board of County Commissioners' actions?
Yeah, just a quick update on the 1041 regulations. The board held a public hearing last Wednesday. They decided to they continued it. They're going to have a work session tomorrow morning and then have kind of what I would anticipate to be the final action perhaps the following Wednesday on the 10th. Excel had submitted some information to them kind of late afternoon the day before their hearing. They wanted some time to review that and digest that and think about that. They had a couple of other items and thoughts they had as well, but lion's share of it was wanting to make sure that they reviewed that information. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any consent agenda items?
We do not.
Okay. This is a point in time if we have any citizens that would like to make comments unrelated to anything that we're hearing tonight. This is your opportunity if you have something you'd like to say that's to address the Planning Commission. Hearing none. We'll go on to approval of the last meeting minutes. Is there any?
Can I beg to pardon? Can I beg to interrupt you and go back to your last question and ask something?
Sure. If you have something you want to address that's not related to anything we're doing tonight. Okay.
This is a question from Jerry County 96 of the county.
If,
I have a question about the 1,324 feet. When you're talking about notifying property owners, zoning changes, etc. Okay? You guys all look like you've been around for a while. I'm starting to get there. Okay, so the question is, you probably know that the properties out here are large. 1,320 feet will maybe get you one meter. When you're trying to say, hey, something's going on in there. I really think that needs to be addressed by
thank you. Just a quick comment for you. We give the applicants a list of every property within 1,325 yards, or feet, and those people are the ones that they have to notify. That's gotten from the county records. So it's anywhere in 360 from that particular property.
Right. My
So,
point is
no,
the distances are just so great when you're talking about rural areas.
I totally understand that. So, would you like to come up here and have your name and address,
sorry.
please?
Judy Willie, 9490 County Road 102, Elbert. In addition to Gary's, one point that I'm curious about, if a property is 1,320 and you own part of that, you have a limited number of notifications. But when that access to that property passes through someone's property, is there a reason they would not be entitled to join the planning committee or the community meeting and receive notice? It by default is affecting my property directly, but because of where that 1,320 feet radius ended, it ended at my property line. So by technicality, we didn't have to be notified. I just happened to find it. And I believe that as an easement running through, that is affected property and should be notified.
Okay, point taken. We'll consider that. It's also noticed on signs at the property too. So anybody that's around there can see the signs or should be able to see them.
You have to understand where what Gary's talking about is the property is twice removed. So the sign appeared on his gate, which no one saw but him and his workers as he drove into his gate. And I'm serious right now. When I discovered it at the county, they moved it.
Okay, we're getting into a subject
Sorry.
for our hearing tonight, so
Okay.
we can't cover that.
Okay, but to his point, no one in the neighborhood buys the paper, and there is no other way for people.
Okay, thank you. Okay, citizen comments are closed at this point. So let's go into approval of the meeting minutes. No, we need a motion first.
I make a motion to accept the meetings as read
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, the public hearing process that we're going through, this requires this body to conduct a quasi-judicial hearing, which means the body must find facts and base its decision upon the application of the adopted regulation, standards, and criteria, and the competent, substantial, and material evidence received during this hearing. All testimony must be competent, on topic, and not repetitious. And if you speak, when you have your turn, you only have 3 minutes. So just remember, you'll only have 3 minutes to talk. Okay, so at this point, we'll open the public hearing process. And if we can have the staff presentation.
All right, commissioners and visitors, this is the Crick World Sports Field SUR, case number SU 22005. This is an application for a special use by review. Based on the uses available within our land use table, we have identified this as a park and recreational area private, and this is on an agriculturally zoned parcel where a special use by review would allow for this use upon approval. This general location is 24251 Crickrold Street in Elbert. Just to familiarize you guys with the area, the location generally is east of the town of Elbert, towards the end of County Road 41, just south of County Road 102. The landowner and applicant is Raja Mandiga. The pre-application meeting was held on December 16th, 2021. A community meeting was held on January 24th of 2022. The application was submitted to CDS for review on February 24th of 2022 as well. We have a Planning Commission hearing tonight, which will be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners for August 10th. I will provide a brief statement on the noticing. For this particular hearing, the noticing has been completed correctly. As you may have seen, this was noticed also for July 5th and July 19th based on guidance that we've received as a department for our noticing requirements. As Ms. Judy had touched on, the sign was not present in the correct location, that it should have been facing county right-of-way. Upon working with the applicant with some of the noticing deadlines that we had two signs placed, one physically on the property and one at the end of county maintenance, where County Road 41 essentially ends. As well as that, notification by newspaper was completed again, as well as the mailers. So that might explain some discrepancy for those who have received multiple notifications for this. For due process with that, to make sure all three forms are completed properly, this was the first available meeting to do so. To familiarize you all with the surrounding area, this is a predominantly agricultural area. Aside from the town of Elbert over here, and then the planned unit development that encompasses the Boy Scout Ranch as well. Most of the parcels in this immediate vicinity are 35 plus acres. To familiarize yourselves with the aerial map, it is a relatively undeveloped area, and especially on the subject property itself, no development has occurred at this time, and it's a relatively flat area for the most part. So to touch on access, which was arguably one of the biggest components of this project, that the site access itself is from County Road 41, being served essentially east to west from County Road 102, where we have the red dotted line here is essentially, as it's addressed, is County Road 41 right here. This was maintained this way, so the address of this property owner would not have changed with the development of this as a private road. Therefore, Crickrold Street, which the property that we're discussing here is addressed off of, carries this designation through this elbow here down to this property. Essentially, there'll be a number of facts coming out as to the intensity of use on the property, but the information that we have reviewed and accepted from the applicant indicates that the traffic letter pretty much specifies 30 trips per weekend day, essentially. Now, speaking to some of the site and use specifics, I'll walk through some of the key and pertinent details with what's being proposed here. There will be approximately 3 cricket fields, about 4 acres in size, located generally on the western side of the property. And this will include a 3,000 square foot building, which will predominantly serve as like a lounge area with restrooms and some interior space that could be used for those that might be waiting on a youth that's practicing or somebody that's waiting to drive individuals home after a game. The parking was an unusual situation because the way the parking guidelines within the zoning regulations are laid out, it's principally based on the structure, not based on anything that might be outside, as in a park or anything of that nature. We don't have any standards that speak to that. If you were to calculate off of the 3,000 square foot that is the structure, only 12 parking spaces would be needed. The assumptions made by the traffic letter is essentially about 15 vehicles for 3 games to be running at once, based on the carpooling habits of some of the players that the applicant will be having for this use. At this time, we have put in the provision for 40 stalls, but the applicant has also indicated that he could expand to the south of this parking area if needed. He also addressed that there would be 2 part-time employees strictly for the maintenance of the property and the building as well, to make sure that the property is adequately taken care of and the fields have what they need essentially to proceed. Youth training for how this application is laid out is for an accessory use to these sports fields, that this would be an accessory perhaps on the weekends as well, for 20 to 30 individuals to come in and be able to have classes or training within the structure that we have here. As well, it's been identified that the club games are to occur only on the weekends and only during daytime hours. When discussing this with the applicant, there was a discussion of whether lighting would be needed on this property, and the discussion led to the point where lighting was not desired as the games were intended to be played during the daytime. In general, and those visiting the site would strictly be on an appointment-only basis during the weekdays as well. And in general, the applicant has proposed approximately 30 trees. About 12 or so that you might see located around the fields will be individualized decorative trees, and approximately 18 to 20, I believe, crabapple and dogwood trees to be scattered on the property as well for the purpose of screening. In looking at some of the referral responses that staff has received from various agencies reviewing the application, I will walk through the responses that provided us a comment beyond a no objection letter. The Colorado Division of Water Resources stated that a well permit would be needed if the existing well is to be used for stock watering. The applicant has indicated that they might have some agricultural use on the property as well, and within the agricultural zone district that is a use by right. From the Elbert County Public Health in general, and this is typical of most applications on undeveloped properties, that septic permits must be applied for before the installation of on-site wastewater treatment systems. Public Works commented that traffic counts will be assessed after the use is implemented to make inferences based on the impact to the surrounding area. If additional improvements need to be made to County Road 41, in addition to the private road that serves this property, that would be made as a request to the applicant whenever that study or analysis is completed. And the Kiowa Conservation District, which refers to us in matters of environmental concern, provided us comments saying that weed control should be used during and following construction of the sports fields. In general, the applicant has either acknowledged or addressed all the comments that were raised by referral agencies during application review. In looking at the review criteria for a special use by review, essentially we have 8 criteria. I will walk through them with you. Criteria A, whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. In general, the applicant is proposing a recreational use of a limited impact to a primarily agricultural and residential area. The operating hours and scheduling of the use on the property will ensure that when the use's impact will be its highest, that it falls exclusively during the daytime and only on the weekends. This applicant is a professional within the cricket industry and has catered his special use requests to mitigate potential off-site impacts while being able to implement his use on the property for the benefit of his clients and cricket players of the region. Criteria B, whether the use will have an undue burden on available infrastructure. And burdens to infrastructure are not anticipated with this application or approval of this special use, that the applicant will be constructing access to the property to county road and bridge standards, and that no additional infrastructure is utilized. In particular, that roadway standard will be a type 1 gravel road per section 700 of the Road and Bridge Manual. Criteria C, whether the use will unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. The traffic letter submitted to Public Works indicates a minimal impact on the county road system. The traffic letter states that most of the trips to and from the subject property will be via carpool. This is supported by the applicant's narrative that argues most cricket club players of the Front Range will be commuting in with teammates from the Denver and Colorado Springs areas and commuting out upon completion of their scheduled games. Public Works and staff believes these assumptions are reasonable, and if improvements are needed following a traffic count conducted by Public Works or Road and Bridge in the future, that this will be discussed with the applicant at that time. Criteria D, whether the use will cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The recreational uses are not believed to cause any of the aforementioned forms of pollution. Odors generated would not be confined to the agricultural uses of the property, and the property owner may elect to conduct outside of the special use permit. Water and air pollution are not anticipated with the activities proposed in the special use permit, and that noise pollution is not anticipated as effective communication in the sport typically can be nonverbal and is quieter than most sports from my research. And in general, that spectators are not anticipated given these are club games where all the players will be actively playing in those games as well. Criteria E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. And in general, the applicant has acknowledged the septic requirements for the property and in general, the comments that were provided by Public Health during review, and that the review of sanitation requirements would occur when a septic permit is applied for through Public Health. In general, whether the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. And the applicant is proposing approximately 13 trees of a unique species, as well as additional lilac bushes and crabapple and dogwood trees. In general, up to 30 trees in total around the cricket fields and accessory structures and parking area. For this type of use, staff feels the landscaping proposed will help reduce potential site issues that could be generated by this use. Criteria G, whether the use will be otherwise detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Staff finds that the cricket field use and accessory youth cricket training use will not be detrimental to present or future county residents. The applicant has proposed a daytime recreational use and will limit the use of his property to appointment only outside of those weekend games. The applicant is well versed in the maintenance and upkeep of cricket fields and is proposing landscaping to further beautify the proposed fields and provide buffering and screening as required by other criteria and the zoning code as well. And the traffic letter submitted is leaning heavily on the carpooling of cricket players for games, but Public Works has indicated after a traffic analysis that adjustments can be made as appropriate in discussion with the applicant. And in looking at criteria H, if there are supplemental standards that are applicable to this particular use, I can indicate that there are not any supplemental standards for this use. With that in mind, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of the requested special use by review for Crick World Sports Fields, case number SU 220005, and that's subject to the following conditions. And I'll make a note before I go to the following page that there was an editing error in moving my computer up here, so the conditions are not displayed correctly. It saved a previous version of my presentation, essentially, and I will walk you through individually the conditions that were presented in the staff report. Before we get lost here. The 5 conditions of approval for this application are: the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The special use by review shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the special use by review exhibit is recorded. That this recordation of documentation is to occur within 180 days of a Board of County Commissioners approval. The applicant shall increase the size of the parking area if directed by the Elbert County zoning compliance official if the current parking area is found to be insufficient for the approved uses. The applicant shall be responsible for all access improvements that may be required by Elbert County Public Works and/or Road and Bridge following a traffic assessment to be completed after the proposed use begins operation. And that will conclude my presentation.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation along with us at this point in time? Your name and address, please.
My name is Raja Mandiga. Address is like 11931 Ridgeview Lane, Parker. I live in Parker, and this property is 24251 Crickwell Street, Elbert, Colorado 80106. Good evening, everybody. You want me to just give an overview of the project?
And anything you would like to add in addition to what they've already given? If anything you think is important that you need to bring to our attention?
I'm grateful to be here, and then I've been through this process for almost like more than a year, and it was very nice support from the county at every level, and I have provided all my comments and within the laws, and I want to abide every law and everything, whatever is required for this process, because cricket is growing in the United States very heavily. Even Microsoft has invested billions of dollars in this. Everybody is looking US at a national level, and a lot of youth and women cricket, especially in the Rocky Mountain area. There is a Australian women cricket also. They don't have fields. So entire Colorado, they don't have any fields anywhere, because most of the time they play in baseball or county fields, which are meant for the kids and other school kids and other leagues. So I thought, like, okay, let me come out here since it's landlocked and it's way away from the county, from the real busy life. That's what I have worked hard to get here, and then I'll do my best to provide every support to the youth and women and all the cricket within the United States.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At this point in time, is there anybody who would like to speak to this particular one? Okay, we have the list. We'll call you by name on the list then. Okay, Roger Willie.
My name is Roger Willie, 9490 County Road 102. And I'd like to start off by saying this easement, the county said they're going to do an assessment on the road after. The easement at its narrowest point is 10 feet wide. 2 cars can't pass. It's 15 foot wide at its widest. So I just want to start off with that. So there's a lot of improvement that would need to be done if this goes forward. The scope of a permissible use within the easement area may vary depending on how the easement was created. Irrespective of whether the easement was created through an express grant or implied through the actions of the parties, the easement scope determines what the easement holder may do with or within the easement area. And conversely, the actions the serving estate owner may take without infringing on the easement holder's rights, the easement holder's rights are limited by the nature and purpose of which the easement was established. The scope of an easement by prior use, however, is typically considered to be limited to the use that originally gave rise to that easement. These are all out of Colorado state law for easements. Colorado courts have outlined a specific line of inquiry in determining the proper scope of an easement acquired by prescription. In Wright versus Horse Creek Ranches, the Colorado Supreme Court adopted the approach outlined in Restatement First of Property, State Statute 477 through 479. the right court looked to reinstate State Statute 478, which advises that the claimed use must be compared with the original use of the easement with respect to their physical character, their purpose, the relative burden caused by them upon the servient tenement. In considering whether a subsequent use of the prescriptive easement constitutes an expansion of the original use, the right court further looked to reinstatement State Statute 479, which provides that, in addition to the factors noted above, courts should consider the needs resulting from the normal evaluation of the use of the dominant estate, balance against the extent to which those need increase the burden placed on the serving estate. In weighing these factors, the right court refused to permit the holder of the prescriptive easement acquired for agricultural use to subsequently use the easement for residential and recreational uses. That's right out of state law. So I am here on behalf, this easement crosses my property, 1,270 feet of it. When I was first told about this from Raj, I was misguided on what was going on back there. We were told this was going to be a family friend, you know, cricket thing, come watch, nice to see you, haven't heard from him since. Now all of a sudden I hear that we're going to pass all these vehicles through here, 3 fields, 11 players per field, that's 66 people. He says it's youth, that means adults have to drive them. There's no way they're going to get there in 15 cars, no way. So that's going to add an extra 50 to 60 trips down that easement in front of my 2 daughters and my grandchildren's houses, which is only 10.5 feet to 15 feet at the widest. And people are going to have to pull off and veer off, cars coming and going. I don't want it. I don't need it. And right here, state law says we don't need to move forward with this.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Okay. Judy Willie.
Judy Willie, 9490 County Road 102, Elbert, Colorado. Major question. Why is this approval being submitted and approved with inaccurate estimates and vague descriptions of use? Previously, CDS maintained that SUR placed detailed proposal by the applicant and held them to higher standards of having to meet to get their SUR submitted and passed. In the summary of request, there's mention of a locker room, sitting lounge. What does this include? Refreshments, showers, kitchen? Very vague. There's states also in the summary request, limited to no spectators for a sport. Youth sport. There's no family, no parents, no grandparents, no fans, no friends. Let's move on. In the referral process, Elbert County Public Health talks about applicants for septic permits, which is not in the conditions, must be submitted and reviewed prior to installation of a new on-site water treatment. But it's missing the engineered part of that referral. It has to be engineered, page 47 of your packet. Further, likely dependent on the number of attendees, the truthful number of attendees, this may require the state to intercede and develop or agree to the water treatment facility. Elbert County Department of Public Works, I don't get it. The traffic counts were made at a later time based on actuals. Per the email, page 84 of your packet, quote unquote, if in fact their estimated traffic counts are accurate. Okay. If you approve, will you shut down the number? Will you shut this down? How will you shut down the increased traffic? The traffic letter on page 27 of your packets, I would really like you to read this. It is purely based on hearsay. It literally says what he said. It says what the applicant told us. No one has truly researched this and looked at it. Do the numbers, 15 cars, 4 people per car is 60 people in. 3 games times 22 people per field, 66, plus 4 referees per game, 12 more people. We're coming up with approximately 80 without. So I respectfully request my time, since I did not get to bring any of this up in the community meeting. We were not notified. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, but your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Next one is Cage Greer.
I'm gonna let Lauren, my wife, go first.
Okay.
Hi. I'm somewhat unprepared. We recently purchased.
Excuse me. You.
I'm so sorry.
Name
I was
and
like
address,
ready to go.
please.
My name is Lauren Green, and we own is it 0001 CR41. So we're the property that's on top of the Crick World property. We would have the easement going through the front of our property and share the gate and the road going into our property. We were unaware of this when we purchased the property. This is all a surprise to me. I've learned an awful lot about cricket in the last couple weeks. There's, like the applicant said, there are several cricket fields in Colorado. One of them is Cornerstone Park, which I grew up next to. It's turned into a soccer field. It's got a hockey rink. It's got a skate park. So it's turned into much more than a cricket field. We're in our 30s, and we just purchased this property because I grew up in Littleton, and he grew up in Lakewood. And we moved here, we live in Elizabeth now, because we wanted to get away from people. I didn't anticipate purchasing a property that's now going to have at least, cricket has 2 games per day, one at 9, one at 1 p.m. at all the other cricket fields in Colorado that I can find. That's a lot of people driving through my property and using that one easement road, where if we have an emergency or they have an emergency, we all have to fight to get out of that road. So I don't know what else to say. I have heightened emotions about this, as I'm sure all of my neighbors do, and I wasn't very prepared to come with questions for you all. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Green, 0001, County Road 41. So this was originally an 80-acre lot that was split to 2 40-acre lots. We bought the other half. I'm not going to beat a dead horse and repeat everything else that everybody else has said, but what I want to know is how the county's going to ensure the safety of my kids on our property when there's over 100 cars, but again, doing the math that everybody else has outlined for you guys today. 100 cars a day driving literally through my property to get to the cricket fields. So, and then the environmental impact I saw in the notes, saying that there's no wildlife, there's no foliage that'll be interrupted. Well, all you guys are here now, so you are very well aware of the wildlife that we have out here. So to think that there will be no impact on the wildlife on that 40-acre lot and the surrounding lots is insanity. Surely there'll be wildlife impact. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Gary Downing.
Gary Downing, 9603 County Road 102. A couple of things. Galloway and Company did the traffic letter, right? That's who you got that from? Is that correct? And they did it by satellite? Because there's nothing there that says how they did that. They took some photographs by satellite, and you can see that in the packet. The area that we're talking about here is a goat trail. County Road 41 ends at the properties that we're talking about, and that's the reason the counties put the end county maintenance thing up. To talk about the impact on the area there is just hard to overstate, let's say it like that. It's a dead-end road that's got 3 houses on it, and I don't know if somebody was being deliberate when they talked about the number of, deliberately misleading when they talked about the number of people that would be coming to and from that property and the number of cars. Because as you've heard, they talk about how many people per team, then you have referees and stuff like that. And again, that's not including anybody else that might be coming through. Here's the issue I have with it. One of the stipulations is that the county's making a decision on a property, on a project based on what kind of impact it may or may not have. And if it is, what's the word, compliant with the area, maybe that's not the correct word, that fits the area there, right? These are ranchers and ranchettes, okay? Some of them aren't big, some of them are. You know these properties. Malone's got a huge cow outfit out there. There's other people that are running cattle out there. There's people that are running sheep, goats, stuff like this, people growing alfalfa, growing hay, people growing wheat. That's the area. It's not cricket in the middle of all this. It doesn't fit. You can't make the argument that it does and call it logic. You can't do it. The other thing that I would like to kind of throw out there is some of the vagueness that's in the application that talks about what might happen down the road. Well, I've done enough contract work and I've done enough legal stuff that I can see what that means is we're preparing for things to change. We've put it in here so that we've addressed it. That's what that means. I really don't think that people would have a problem with somebody putting a cricket field in, but maybe a sports complex might fare better in a part of town that is commercial, more commercial, less residential, less agricultural. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Matt, can you speak to the requirements on the road and what Road and Bridge and the fire department have to say about that, and if you know the width of the total easement and that information, can you present that?
Yes, from the title work I've read, it's 60 feet in width is the easement. I do have documentation of that and can provide that for the next available hearing from the title work that I have reviewed for the easements, specifically where the end of county maintenance begins. There is access through the area that I've identified on here with that red dotted line right there, that those are easements that are in place for access to the back of that property, essentially. What I've learned interacting with Road and Bridge since this has been going forward to public hearing is that that dotted line area will be a type 1 gravel road being installed by the applicant for the entirety of that dotted, red dotted area there.
So basically, it's an improvement over what's there to a type 1 road.
Yes.
Which is how wide?
I want to say 24 off the top of my head.
So, okay. Would the applicant like to address some of the concerns?
Mr. Chair, you may wish to ask the audience to see if there's anybody else that wishes to speak to this other than the folks that have signed up.
Okay, if there is somebody else that hasn't already spoken and would like to. Okay, if the applicant would like to speak to some of the concerns and issues that have been brought up.
Yeah, a couple of things. I just want to make a correction here. When I said youth or kids, they are not the prime people who will be playing in the weekends. It's the adults who are professionals, who are IT engineers, who age between 30 to 50. They are the people who will be playing on the sports field. The accessory building, whatever it is for training for youth, that's where the kids will be playing. There is not much kids around there, but that's for youth program. That's a camp for them for training purposes. But the major clubs that are all are about 30 years, 30 to 50 years. That's one thing I want to make sure. And they always go with the carpool wherever they want to play, because they play at Fort Collins and everywhere, Colorado Springs. They do the carpooling because of it's easy for them to do that. And second one, the septic tank thing. Yes, definitely we will have restrooms, and we'll go with the engineering foundation. We'll go with the proper whatever is required for the septic that is required for the property. Those two things I just want to mention there. Thank you. There was some concern about safety with the cars driving down the road. Is there going to be any sort of fencing, or is that required, or just the road? Is it supposed to be fenced, or what's the road and bridge requirement?
The road and bridge requirement is just the physical road itself. There's no discussion about fencing, to my knowledge.
All righty. Did we? Okay, you can ask the question directly.
Yeah, looking at the write-up on this, this was documented as a club property, and a club requiring some level of appointment to get in.
Yes, there will be on-site. There is a web portal where they will do the appointment, and also we have liability insurance covered for each of these players who are coming in by the individual clubs.
So there's no control at the property. There's no fencing around the property in order to control access, and all you have to do is walk up or drive up and make an appointment.
No, the appointment will be made prior on the website, on the portal, and if it is blocked, nobody else is allowed to come in. It's on the portal, website portal, and again, the land is on 4 sides. It is fenced.
And there's a gate on the road?
Yes, there is a gate on the entrance.
And how's that controlled? Is it locked?
Yeah, the gate will be locked, and there will be a automated control, because we have a code whoever enters inside to make sure that, and we also have cameras that we are installing. Already one camera is installed, which works by cellular Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
If there's a locked gate, how do we get to our property?
You have an easement. You can't block access to a property.
Yeah.
That's
No, it's not permissible to block access with the easement that's there. You can't. Right, that's what he's saying, at the entrance of his property. Yeah, he can control it there with the gates. So,
I can speak to your comment, Commissioner Wilcox. As it's drawn right now, that isn't the only way to access the property. From what I've reviewed, these easements are separate and were created when this 80-acre piece was split and sold. The initial easement that covers this northern portion here was a part of a larger easement that rides down this property line along the section line and then cuts over here.
Okay, so go right, all right.
So I'm not sure what decision was made to select that access way.
Was that easement abandoned?
No.
Okay.
It's basically the same distance. Exactly.
Mr. Chair, this is the first time that we have heard of the gate idea. The board may wish, or the commission may wish to ask the applicant where they anticipate putting a gate. If it's put further to the north, not on their property, that might be something that's more of a concern than if it's put at the property line. Just to get some clarification on what the plan is from the applicant.
Okay. Would you like to address that?
I've not understood the question. Can you repeat, please?
Where you're talking about putting the gate?
The gate is put at the end of the dotted line, the red line. That's where the gate is already there.
The gate's already there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the entrance to my property.
Okay. Yeah. In the upper right corner up there. What do you think about the alternate route that of the other easement? Is that a possibility, or?
I'm fine because I've not put the gravel yet. I just made a simple driveway. I spent few thousands of dollars on that, the current private road. But if that's an hindrance, I want to support my neighbors. You're saying that going behind and coming behind the house, but that will be close proximity to the house on the corner. There is a house on the corner.
There's a house on the corner down there?
Yeah. Just besides the gate, there's a house. So if we are coming from the backside, it will be coming through their property. Is that what suggested? Yeah, I'm fine with any of the things.
Say again? Coming down straight and then over.
I see the section line has an easement, and there is an easement. Matthew, there is an easement that goes east-west from the section line.
Essentially what you're seeing here, this, as I said before, was created when this piece was sold around the time that was split, and the access was dedicated at that time of the land survey plat. When this easement up here was created, it was essentially going down this line to here.
Okay, that was it was an older easement, right?
I think dating back to about 2007.
Okay.
Are they all 60 feet?
I can't confirm the number right now. I believe it's 30, at least on this portion of the property. As to what it is up here, I can't speak to that dimension at this moment.
Okay, so even if it's just 30, it would take a 24-foot road.
Yeah. The type 1 gravel road, from my discussion with Road and Bridge, would adequately fit within the easements that are provided on the properties here.
So it'd also make it an easier access for any homes along that road too, once it's put in. Okay, any other questions? What are your thoughts, Denny?
Well, the property was bought with an easement term. It was sold, has that. Okay, and that easement, you can't lock somebody's property off.
Right.
And that easement, then, once that's built, that becomes essentially part of that piece of property.
So, I mean, what you're talking about is, I don't know what the process is to actually change that. But then, and I don't know what the condition of County Road 41 is going down there and the other way. But then you deal with another set of properties that have to, documentation has to be changed, negotiations have to take place, and everything else.
Okay?
So
No, I understand.
that's where I think,
As is.
you know, and I don't think really, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but the county really doesn't deal with easements. That's,
Do you have a concern?
I would agree, the county would not maintain an easement. We would ensure that the access that is being built is appropriate for the activity that's being proposed and to ensure like fire and such could get there. Yep, so a type 1 gravel road sounds like what was determined to be the appropriate sized access road to the property.
but our role in it is just to determine that the road or access to that property is built initially correctly. But after that, as far as anything else, it's outside of our realm, correct?
Yeah, I would generally agree with that statement. I mean, we'd want to ensure over time that that road is maintained so that the fire department and such could still get there, but
Well, then also to answer another question that came up about your SUR, you know, and about the improvements on the property, if anything changes beyond what's initially planned, okay, then it's outline of the SUR. So
Exactly.
they'll have to come back and change that. They can't go and expand or do anything else without changing the SUR and going back through the process.
Through the whole process that they've just gone through.
And that
So
would be
it-
a public process
That
as
is a
well.
whole public process.
Exactly.
Plus, at that time, if they did change, they're in violation of the SUR, which supposedly the county's inspecting annually. Just to give you the, because that was one of the other questions. Yeah.
They were held to a higher standard, and from just these few people here, and ones that couldn't make it, you've already heard there is a concern with the ambiguity of this whole application. The numbers aren't adding, none of it.
Yep.
And that's the biggest concern. I thought SURs, I actually heard that in a board meeting, that SURs are held to a higher standard.
They are.
There are more requirements, and everything I heard today, we don't know about the easements.
Mr. Chair?
Okay.
Okay,
This is a
it's-
conversation.
Yeah, that's something that,
So that's what we're saying.
I have
Okay.
one more question.
any other questions?
I
Roger?
have one more.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mendiga, just a quick question for you. In your application, it said you may consider agricultural aspects. What would that be?
I'm planning to have some Indian vegetables, which can cater to the people who are coming out there, because we get these Indian vegetables from Texas, New Jersey, and it's very expensive here. So I'm planning to have put in some Indian vegetables out there, and then do some service kind of thing to the community.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Understanding the traffic, these horses would be stalled on the facility, so traffic would be people in cars or something like that, not horse trailers and trucks coming in with each carpooler, right?
No trucks, no horses.
So. No horses. Oh, sorry. Cricket. Oh, cricket.
It's just a game.
Sorry.
I mean, don't worry, when it first came out,
I-
I thought the same thing.
I-
There is no,
I
yeah,
apologize. I know the
Similar to
difference.
this
I
is
know
similar
the
to
difference,
baseball.
so.
okay. I do have another question. Sir, how many people do you expect?
3 fields. Right now, only 2 fields we're opening just to before we go for the third field. Each field will be played by 10 players, 10 to 11 players. It depends upon the format of the game. Some games are 3 hours. Some games are 6 hours. So they play in a different season, like spring, fall, and midsummer. So for every game, there will be like 22 people on the field.
Okay?
And these are all adults. So mostly like,
Hey, you're a ways out there. Do you expect those 3 fields to be filled up?
that's why I'm opening only 2. I'm not sure, like at this moment, they'll be filled up.
Okay. So, and I'm not really familiar with, where the folks come and play cricket. I'm really, do we have a big population of cricket players here in Elbert County?
Yeah, there are around 300 people who are playing cricket, and Colorado Springs has Memorial Park and another park, I don't remember the name of that, Colin or something. 2 parks, which is a county park, they'll play. And there is one in Littleton, which is Cornerstone. They play there, but that Cornerstone, again, there are some issues that happened. The balls were hitting the soccer because soccer was just to the field where the kids were playing, and they also want to move away from there. But other than that, there's a lot of cricket, a lot of people inflow that happened recently from different states that has increased a lot of cricket. That's why I said, like, okay, let me do something for them. Yeah.
Now, is cricket played annually, or is it seasonal?
Since we are in a state where we have snowfall,
Well, that's why, yeah.
It's the peak time is between April through October, and rest of the days it's normally nothing, like.
Okay. Okay.
Are these fields sodded?
Yes.
Or are they field grass? Or, like
It's a native grass combined with perennial ray grass. It's not Kentucky grass, so it requires less water, less maintenance. Only regular mowing needed. Every week or every 2 weeks. That's the most important thing. I bought equipment for that, and also want to give to some landscaping services around, so that they'll do the regular weed and everything in control. So yeah, it's perennial ray grass that's being used.
I'm sorry.
The packet had information on the grass and the mowing and that type of thing on it. Any other questions?
I got one more.
Sure.
So, you really don't know how busy you're going to be and how much traffic is going to come up. So that's why we're doing the evaluation afterwards, correct?
Yeah, but the 3 fields, I got a lot of motivation support from the leagues and clubs. That's why I asked for 3 fields. But for my safety, because I'm putting a lot of money on that, I'm just opening 2 fields and to see how it goes.
Okay, and initially though, you were building the road to a spec that will handle how many people do we have?
The traffic letter identifies 30 trips per weekend day.
Okay, and you're prepared, if there are more, to expand on the road, improve the construction, if there are more trips?
Yes, I have plenty of space for that. But one question I want to ask you is, like, if I'm doing the improvement on the road, like the gravel class road base, that is confined to my private road only, right? I'm not asked to do the entire County Road 41, right? Is that correct understanding? I mean, like, the road, when the traffic comes in, the improvements, I'm confined to my property easement road, right? Or...
Your property, you're confined to that property easement, that's it?
Yeah, then I'm fine. That's perfect.
Okay, yeah, you're not improving anybody else's road?
Yeah, then I'm good.
All the way from the end.
All the way from the end to it, that's his easement?
End of county maintenance, all the way.
Right to the end, that's pretty much his easement, yeah.
Can we pull up the red dot chart?
So, and be sure,
Everything where the red dot is.
so, depending on the traffic counts, after you're up and running, you're prepared to improve that whole section of entry?
Yes, I mean, that's in my plan, but I have 2 neighbors, one this side and one that side, who also access this particular private road, this particular road. If they want to share some of that.
So that's between you and your neighbors, that's something.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise I'm fine because I'll be using mostly, so I'm fine with it.
A type 1 road by itself is capable of handling far more traffic than that, correct?
And to my knowledge, and that's the standard when interacting with Road and Bridge, is what they had as a permit for this private road, and generally the standards that they will default upon for private roads. When we start talking about higher intensity, that's when we start going beyond type 1, but type 1 is what has been applied for and is the intention of what's to be built here.
Okay.
I want to interject as well. I think that the applicant's presumption about not having to make any additional improvements to County Road 41 may not be accurate. If it's found that they have a fair amount more traffic than what is identified. Public Works' comment was relatively generic, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact language, but it basically said if there is additional traffic impacts, then the road will be evaluated or something akin to that. So that could also include not only the red dotted area there, but the County Road 41 area north of there. So it could potentially include that. We don't know at this point.
We don't know because we don't know the traffic counts. Okay.
Any other questions, please? Any questions? Any more questions?
One last question. I
I have one too, okay?
Okay, go ahead first.
Sorry, okay? Yeah, as in any sport, okay, you can expect injuries.
About the sport?
In any sport, you can expect to have injuries, correct?
No, yeah, correct.
Okay, so have you made allowances to make sure that there's first aid facilities out there? I didn't see that on the drawings. Okay.
Yeah, that is a part of the
'Cause
building.
you're a long way from everywhere out there.
Yeah, actually,
So, you know, you sprain an ankle, you break a leg, you know, those things can happen in cricket just as well as any other sport. So that's my main concern, that you would have that type of facility. So.
yeah, I can explain in two ways. One is all the cricket that is played is fully protected gear, top to bottom. Otherwise, they are not allowed on the ground because there are umpires who will be watching them. And we didn't have any kind of incidents till now. So that is the individual player has to have complete gear. And on site, I have a building where I'll be also having emergency medical aid required for them, because that's mandatory, and I'll be doing for that one. And also each club also belongs to a group of another club. When they play on a single day, they have their own physiotherapist sitting out there coming and helping them. But till now, we have not seen any of the injuries anywhere.
I coached girls softball for 16 years and never only had one injury in 16 years, but I did have an injury. Okay, so, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I have one question. On the map of the site, at one point, it showed the road going over the top of the well. Where is the well in relation to that right now? I mean, one of the early maps in there showed the road coming across, and it was the well was right in the middle of the road.
The well is exactly on the star where you see SS 85922 East. There is a star on the fence line because the well is split between two properties. It's on the fence line, not on the road.
Okay.
It's on the fence line. Yeah, there, the star, just on the fence line this side, and the next one, the middle one, yeah, there.
So that's where the well's at.
Yeah, that's the well, and others on the fence line.
Okay. It's a long way from it. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members here?
Not really a question, but I was out at the site, and when I drove there, which took a considerable amount of time, I could not conceive of why we'd have people out there doing that. I don't have a problem with cricket fields necessarily. I don't know anything about cricket. I question the location of this. I know that's the property he owns. But my feeling when I looked at it was it's not a particularly appropriate use for the property or for the area, and I'm opposed to it.
Okay, the board-only discussion at this point is closed. And I would entertain a motion.
Did you want to add
Danny?
anything to it, Danny? I think you did. So
Pardon me?
I said, I think you wanted to add something to it.
No, I'm good.
Would you like to make the motion?
Okay, I'll move. I move that the Crick World Cricket Sports Field SURSU -22-005 be approved with the conditions as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we do a roll call vote on this?
Sure.
Just to make
Better.
sure. Okay. Commissioner Wilcox?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirkwood?
No.
Commissioner Burton?
No.
Chair Hogendijk?
Aye.
Commissioner Sands?
Aye.
And Commissioner Owens?
Nay.
The motion does not pass. It's a 3-3.
So much for
So at this point, there's, going forward, since we're blocked on it, it'll still go to the Board of County Commissioners with the report on how the vote went.
I believe that hearing's on August 10th, if I'm not mistaken. It'd be the afternoon meeting, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, so anybody who wants to speak to the Board of County Commissioners, that's when you need to do it. And they'll be hearing the same hearing with the information that, of how we voted and how we responded to it. Yes.
Yes.
Each meeting gives you 3 minutes. It's a standard for it.
Send them to us. Yep.
Right. Okay, so that closes the public hearing for Cricket World. And we've got the next presentation. This is for the Ptarmigan rezone. And thank you all for coming. If you want to sit and listen to the rest of it, you're more than welcome.
This is the Ptarmigan rezone, case number RZ220006. Pardon me for not introducing myself before. I'm Matt, staff planner for Community and Development Services. This is a rezoning request from Agriculture A to Agriculture Residential AR. The general location is 2 parcels, which are addressed 43510 and 43520 Ptarmigan Ranch Street in Parker. Generally, this project is located up here. It's wedged at the corner of County Roads 178 and County Road 13, directly across from Spring Valley Filing 5. The landowner of this property, or properties, is Green Tree Land LLC. The applicant, C.J. Kirst of Tahoe Consulting. A pre-application for this request was made on May 13th of 2021. A community meeting was conducted over Zoom on June 9th of 2021, and a formal application was filed with CDS on February 23rd of this year. The hearing is today for the Planning Commission, and it will also be heard by the Board of County Commissioners on August 10th. For this particular hearing, noticing was completed in accordance with the zoning and subdivision regulations. There was some confusion between CDS and the applicant over the paper of record. Therefore, the notification was posted to the Ranchland News. All three forms of notification were completed again, so all three. The mail was completed again for this hearing, as well as a sign on the property, and the newspaper was submitted to the Ranchland News 2 weeks in advance. Generally, this is the zoning map. We have a lot of agricultural pieces located in this area. Generally, this is presumably a land survey plat of 35-acre pieces with Ptarmigan Ranch Street serving it here in the middle. Some improvements with Spring Valley have brought pavement to County Roads 13 and 178 here as well, kind of priming this area for development. Some other subdivisions in proximity are Cherry Ridge, Pleasant Ridge Estates, Parker Highlands, among others. And looking at the aerial map, I haven't touched on it before, but this is an undeveloped piece of property here. And again, this is just a singular rezone request. This is not accompanied by a plat application. Really, this is just a consideration of if this zoning is applicable for this particular piece of property in this location. Generally, this was a very straightforward review for the most part. Generally, the intention upon subdivision is for this property to be divided into approximately 8 lots. There was some conversation that was included in the staff report and packet in regards to access. There was an easement that was established from the west, which is presumably the access point for these 2 parcels. However, it was a desire of the applicant to explore access from County Road 13. Part of a rezoning is to evaluate some of those circumstances that would factor into how the property is used in the future. Therefore, exploring access at County Road 13 is appropriate, but because a subdivision application isn't filed, staff or our reviewers don't have the opportunity to react to that final road design. But it has been indicated from the Director of Public Works that access from County Road 13 is acceptable if paved aprons are applied to the access that would be installed in the future. And in general, there's a comment from the Division of Water Resources that I'll touch on in a minute, and I can go back to this image as needed, but there's a pond discussed as a part of their referral, and it's generally located in this location on the property. So I'm looking at some of the referral responses. Because this application did not contain a subdivision request, we did not get an opinion of water supply adequacy for this particular piece of property. However, they did make a comment about that pond located on the northeastern side of the property. Essentially, we just needed an acknowledgement from the applicant that that pond would not be put to beneficial use, which the applicant has indicated is the case. And the only other referral that we had received that was not a no objection was, in general, a error that was caught by the assessor's office in terms of how the parcels were drawn or shown on the exhibit. Essentially, it was shown as one piece of property when in reality it was 2 parcels. So I'm looking at the review criteria for a rezoning application. There are 6 criteria to consider. Whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. And there are no specific goals or policies that speak to a type of request like this to increase density in a particular area or a piece of property within the county. In general, I will continue to cite the comprehensive plan's vision statement that residential growth is encouraged and that property rights are to be respected as well, and that this would be a means to achieve that mild residential growth. Criteria B as to whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. Based on a number of the developments going on in the area, from Spring Valley to some of the larger subdivisions, larger lot subdivisions, perhaps in Parker Highlands, where we are going in between that less than an acre to 10 acres approximately, that we have a wide range of densities. We also have a bunch of abutting 35 plus acre pieces of property that this serves as a reasonable break in between. More or less, staff is in the belief that this is compatible with surrounding land uses based on the patterns that have been observed in this area. Whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services, and based on the comments received from the referral this year, that there should not be an impact to the provision of public services based on what we've had to review from this rezoning application. Whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment, staff believes that there will not be an adverse environmental impact here. Much of the reason behind the 10-acre minimum for subdivisions in general to have well and septic is to meet that setback standard established by wells themselves, and then also with septic systems based on the Public Health Department of the county. And looking at whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. As I touched on before, County Road 13 has been improved, as well as County Road 178. Based on those facts alone, it was believed during review through our folks from Public Works that that road improvement that was made in the area would be sufficient for serving the subdivision. And criteria F, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Staff has found that there should not be a detrimental impact to county residents based on this proposal, considering a mild density increase on this particular corner of County Road 13 across from the visibly more dense Spring Valley Ranch. So with that in mind, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Ptarmigan rezone, case RZ 220006, based on the following findings: that the proposal is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, that the proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations, that the proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area, and finally, that the proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, or welfare of county residents and landowners in the surrounding area. The conditions are as follows. The applicant will be required to move the public hearing sign within 7 days of a Board of County Commissioners' opinion. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded, and that this recordation occurs within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. And I'll conclude my presentation.
The applicant like to add to that?
Good evening, Commissioners. C.J. Kirst, Tahoe Consulting, 5730 East Otero Avenue, Suite 200, Centennial, Colorado, 80112. The only thing I'd like to add, just to indicate that we are extremely wanting to take access from 13 and not through Ptarmigan. We realized this was a rezoning, but we did spend a little more detailed time looking at how many accesses off of 13. Again, like Matt said, this isn't subdivision, but what we're thinking is a total of 3 accesses, so we're not going to have 8 separate driveways. There is an access for Spring Valley Filing 5, a single access that goes out onto 13, and that'll be something that we'll have to look at to make sure that we've got the proper distance separating the 3 driveways that we're anticipating. So it would be 2 shared driveways and then a cul-de-sac in the middle. But that was an important piece of this that just wanted to add on to. As far as that pond in the northeast corner, Matt's correct. We don't have any interest in claiming it for any other purposes. I think it just naturally was a low point So with that, we're satisfied with the conditions of approval. Can I answer any questions?
Matt, can you bring up the map showing where the entrances would be?
I don't have that drawing in particular on this
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, we're not really looking at that. We're just looking at the rezone. And that's all we can do, but I was just curious.
Up in your next step, I think, correct?
Right, it'll be in the,
It's really,
No, we understand that. I think that was just a concern that we knew that the Ptarmigan residents would probably have, that we'd be bringing 8 new homes through the subdivision, so.
okay, so just to make it clear, all we're really looking at today is just the rezone and none of the rest of it. That will come to us at a later point in time as, 8 lots would be coming through the planning commission at that time.
Yeah, and I'll echo CJ's comments there that although we are not looking at the access to the property, it is important to understand how that property will be utilized in the future in lieu of this, or in light of this application being approved, that we'd like to have an understanding generally of where the property would be accessed. And, we've put in comments as to the approval of the subdivision design. Although that does not pertain to this application, it also shows the aptitude for us to consider County Road 13 accesses when the subdivision is applied for.
Okay, thank you, CJ. Do we have any public testimony on this? Anybody that wants to speak to this particular location? Okay. Public testimony is closed then. And now we got a board-only discussion. Any questions? No? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to RZ 22-0006, Ptarmigan rezone, I'll move that we recommend to the Board of County Commissioners approval, but subject to the fact that we're only addressing rezoning. We are not addressing access. That'll be an issue that'll be totally brought up at a later date when a subdivision is presented. So rezoning only, recommend approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, we've got one more hearing after this. It's the Snyder rezone case.
Right, Commissioners, this is the Snyder rezone, case number RZ 220034. Matthew Carney with CDS again. This is a rezoning request from Agriculture A to Agriculture Residential AR, and pardon me, there is a typo on that presentation as well. This property is zoned Agriculture 2. The location is 31141 Private Road 23. This location, more specifically, is just south of the town of Elizabeth, just east of County Road 1721. The landowner and applicants are Brian and Sarah Snyder. There is a concurrent review of a minor plat application, case number 220035, that has an administrative hearing date of August 25th following the Board of County Commissioners. That will be heard on August 24th. In general, a pre-application was filed with the county and a meeting was held on April 7th of this year. Community meeting was conducted in Elizabeth on May 18th, 2022, and a formal application was filed about 2 weeks later on June 1st. Again, we're here for the Planning Commission tonight, and the Board of County Commissioners will hear this on the 24th. The noticing has been completed in accordance with the zoning and subdivision regulations. So looking at an aerial view of the property, this can also be known as Lot 2 of the Watts Minor Subdivision, with Lot 1 being the property just adjacent, about 10 acres to the west, and the 29.5 acre piece right here subject to this proposal. Zoning in the area is predominantly agricultural. However, there have been several minor subdivisions that have been approved here over time, including the original Watts subdivision itself. There are other approved subdivisions in the area, predominantly off of 1721, but those include Fine, Sarek, Grith Glen, and Ritchie. In general, for some of the site specifics, this 29.5 acre piece is essentially chopped in half and will receive driveway access from Private Road 23, which runs north to south through this particular area. Something that came up in referral, and I'll touch on continually here, is the status of Private Road 23. This was identified very clearly during the community meeting as something that would need to be addressed with care and concern for the subdivision request to be considered. And Elizabeth Fire, during the referral period, the applicant has worked closely with the fire district to be able to establish what improvements would need to be made. Again, Private Road 23, as it's shaded in red here, goes north to south along the balance of the property, will need to be upgraded to Type 1 gravel road standards from Road and Bridge Section 700. And for the referral responses, generally the water had been adjudicated previously with the Watts subdivision. I believe the work that had been done previously was identifying the water supply individually for each of the proposed lots, as 2 well permits had been issued for this property pending approval of the subdivision. I am seeing that this did not save as well. The other comment that is of note on here that I have down in general is in regards to the fire district requiring that the access road, Private Road 23, is to be upgraded to that Type 1 gravel road standard. In interacting with the Public Works Department, Road and Bridge on that is the standard that they would like to see in that area. In looking at the review criteria, we have the 6 rezoning review criteria that we have discussed with the previous application. In general, whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. In general, speaking back to the vision statement of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, residential growth is encouraged as a vision of the county among other uses, as well as, in general, the respecting of private property rights. In looking at whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses, this is a predominantly agricultural area. There is still a lot of agricultural pieces in close proximity to here. But however, there have been many minor developments that have been considered and proposed in this area. So this request is no different than one of those. Whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. Based on the review that was completed, no comments were received from our referral agencies that would indicate an adverse impact to public services based on the minor 2-lot, or essentially 2 residences. That increase in density should not have an adverse impact to public services. Criteria D, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. The Kiowa Conservation District received a referral and did provide no comment to this development proposal here, giving staff the indication that there will not have an adverse impact to the environment. And looking at criteria E, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. The Elizabeth Fire Protection District requested improvements to Private Road 23 for the rezoning and minor plat requests to create an additional lot to be served. The applicant has agreed to improve the road to road and bridge type 1 gravel road standards, something that will adequately address the impact of the additional development of Lot 2 of Watts Minor Subdivision. Criteria F, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County, and staff believes that this rezoning request is not believed to cause a detrimental impact to county's health, safety, or welfare as a result of this rezoning approval. With that being said, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of the requested Snyder rezone, case RZ 220034. Staff bases this on the following 4 findings: that the proposal is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposal meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area, and that the proposal will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, or welfare of the residents and landowners in the surrounding area. This approval is subject to the following conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded, and that recordation is to occur within 180 days of approval. What you might find is that there is not a condition for this rezoning for the improvement of Private Road 23 that is appropriately being conditioned for the subdivision application that will be decided administratively by the CDS director. And that will conclude my presentation on the Snyder rezone.
Okay, is the applicant present? Would you like to make any additions to the presentation? You state your name and address, please.
Sure. Sorry, I'm kind of tall. Need a microphone extender up here. Brian Snyder, 8816 Lanceleaf Street, Parker, Colorado. I think Matthew did a pretty good job outlining everything. The only thing that kind of just to add a layer of simplicity to this is my wife and I purchased this land. Our goal is, again, just to build a house. We have 6 kids, grew up in the country. We want to just kind of instill those same country values with our kids. You know, with the improvement, the sense of urgency after speaking with all the neighbors out there, sense of urgency seems pretty high with the neighbors that Private Road 23 gets fixed up. I did my best to go around to every neighbor prior to sending out all of the letters to shake their hands and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we want to try to do. Almost everybody expressed concerns with Private Road 23. And that's going to be the very first thing that we fix up is going to be to bring that up to county standards. It's going to be, you know, it's a $50,000 improvement that really everybody out there is going to benefit from. It's going to improve the community, and it's also going to benefit the people who are going to be traveling on that road every single day. So again, I think that's it directly improves the area, and it directly is a positive thing for the neighbors that are out there. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments? Okay, state your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Stephen Luttrell, 31190 Private Road 023. So if you're able to bring up the picture with the Private Road 23. So our property is just to the right of that. And we have talked to Brian and Sarah of this new property. They've agreed to upgrade all of the land there, or upgrade the road. And that road does go strictly on our property, within our property lines. So they have been very clear about that and about what kind of entrances they want into there. The only real concern that I see of any of this, so our property, our views for it are to have a permaculture, a regenerative agriculture, ranch land site with a lot of community interactions, a lot of educational access for 4-H kids, for biology, microbiology, horticulture, livestock, shooting sports, culinary, plus research opportunities for local, state, regional, and universities. The only thing that I am concerned about is that is going rezoning this is going to take away from our opportunity to do any of these and restrict us for what we originally bought the property for. So other than that, again, Brian and Sarah and their kids have all come to us, and they've been wonderful. They've been very upfront with us, and they have told us about their Colorado upbringing and how they want to keep hold of all of those traditions. And I myself, I really do appreciate them, and I want to see this move forward for their sake, for their family.
State your name and address, please.
Sure. Doris Luttrell. And
Maybe,
I'm also,
maybe you can pull the microphone down a little closer.
Doris Luttrell at 31190 Private Road 023. So the whole intention of our purchasing this land is basically my son is going to carry on basically his family legacy as far as ranching and everything. The concern I have is we bought it and it's ag, and I just want to understand what AR or residential across from us, if that does anything for our property as far as restrictions, as far as, you know, how much, you know, a compost pile, how close can a compost pile be to a residential area, for instance, that kind of thing. You know, if he's going to raise chickens, is there any limitations as far as the livestock that he is planning on putting on the property, that because you're changing the zoning from ag to AR, or, and you made a statement earlier that it was missed on the slide, so I'd like to know for sure what is the
Okay,
rezoning going to be?
Address the commission, please.
Yeah. Rezoning, what is it actually going to be is for their property versus, you know, ours is going to stay AG, I hope, but you understand where I'm coming from as far as trying to question that particular difference between residential and ag, so close together, basically just from an easement.
Okay.
I can tell you right now, I don't think it makes any difference at all to your property.
It doesn't make any difference. So
Because yours property zoned agriculture, this is agriculture residential, okay? Which can, you continue to have some of the agricultural goodies, I guess to say. But it allows them to add more houses to it.
okay.
That's as simple as it is. Am I correct there, Danny? Yeah.
Yeah, the zoning
It
is
won't,
sort of
it won't affect you at all.
it's related to the size of the lot. So, but it doesn't limit what you're doing on yours at all.
So I know there's questions as far as the commission, as far as how many, how much other planning is being done in the area. Is there a limitation on how small these lots are going to be? For instance, you know, we're a 40-acre lot, and I know that he had 29 and a half, and he's splitting it into two, so that makes it 14 point whatever. So is this going to continue in this area to the point where it's going to also increase the amount of traffic, a residential area in here because of Watts or?
There's no way that we can predict that at the moment.
You're asking us to predict the future, and we can't do that, but
Yeah. So
we have to go through the same process.
Okay.
It is something that the county kind of encourages in a way. So it's something that,
Because we bought the land, you know, to be 40 acres to, in the middle of other 40 acres to basically, you know, do agriculture and, you know, cows and whatever. And if everything was going to start getting broken down into, you know, here's 14 and then now it's 5 and now it's, you know, we're just concerned about that kind of increase in traffic around animals when you've got, you know, you're trying to, you know, grow your herd, for instance, and you've got a lot of traffic coming through. We just want to make sure that this isn't going to be subdivided again and subdivided again to the point where.
Well, again, that's the future, and we can't, but the county does place a premium on growth and certain proper growth, okay, and that's why we're here. So
You'll probably
the things we
see-
look at, so.
probably see more of that going along the county road than away from it, because that's kind of the way we have got the comprehensive plan working in that direction. So I think it's really tough to say what's going to happen, but it's not going to affect your property at all in that respect.
So the A2 rating is still agriculture based on, so he gets basically a little bit of good of two worlds, basically, as far as residential and agriculture.
No.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know.
I did not.
I just don't know the difference between the A2 and.
Commissioners, I can jump in if needed.
Please.
For agricultural zoning, pretty much the only thing that separates A2, and AR is the density at which that zoning district is to be applied. This one in particular is zoned A2, which has a minimum of 20 acres, whereas the minimum that is being proposed is 10. You won't see subdivision lower than 10 acres because that's the minimum for well and septic setbacks established by agencies that review our applications. So you won't see anything that will go below 10 acres unless typically it will have to be a very large development with the services available to provide water and sanitation to the properties.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Right.
All right, thank you.
So one other comment. You'd mentioned that the road was on your land too, but typically on a private road, the two properties, property lines go through the center of the road.
Commissioners, I'll speak on their behalf. It is located within their property,
Okay.
the easement.
But it is the dedicated easement to the property?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Any other questions?
Matt, clarify that. The part you're talking about that's totally on Mr. Snyder's property is the part in red.
Yes.
That red portion is where private road 23 is, the easement for private road 23.
At that point.
Yep.
Oh,
And the property line ends right at the left side of that red, and that red is highlighting just the exact location of private road 23.
okay. My question is on the remainder that goes at an angle down to the south, that goes across, it looks like, goes across Mr. Watts's property. That's also private road 23.
That is correct.
Is the proposal that that part will also have to be improved?
No, that is not a part of that request. The only portion is very notably where it gets lighter up there alongside the subject property. That's essentially where the improvements will be made on this north to south portion of private road 23 adjacent to the subject property.
Okay, so the access to that part of private road 23 is through the other part to the south across Mr. Watts's property. And does Mr. Watts own that right away?
It is a roadway easement or access
So
easement to my knowledge.
It's a dedicated roadway easement, so it's a private road, but it's dedicated to the county? Or
It's
to who?
an approved private road for the
Approved
county
private road. So,
within an easement.
okay, so a private road, That's was my question, is who owns a private road?
The property owners that that roadway would fall on.
So is it conceivable that that other part of private road 23 could be shut off?
No, because it gives access to other properties which they can't control.
Okay,
Because you can never shut something off that will access other properties.
right.
And that's by law. Okay, so
There's about 6 or 8 other houses.
that go down there.
Yeah,
If he would shut
I
that
knew-
off,
I knew
that would, then you would shut access off
To
to
all
the other properties, and they can't do that
by state law.
by state, well, state statute, I believe it is.
State.
I believe that's, you guys, well, I think it's by state statute.
For the status of,
Different property.
yes.
You're talking about the other easement
Yeah,
that
this
comes up
one
over
right
here.
here.
So that private road 023 also connects on east to west basis is private road 126. And that corner is right at our is on our property.
Right.
So cutting off 023 at the southern area would cut off those other residences. So it would not be cut.
Yeah, you can't,
Yeah,
you cannot shut that
I
off.
just wanted to clarify that.
No, and that's a good point, because you
Yeah.
cannot shut.
Yeah, I don't know specifically when it was dedicated, to my knowledge and my memory, that it was dedicated with the Watts first subdivision. Because there is also access that was dedicated along this portion as well to serve the 10-acre piece, which is known as Lot 1 as well there.
And who maintains that?
Who maintains the road?
Private road.
Private road. So all the owners, those 8 owners you're talking about, plus these 2 and Lot 1, are all responsible for maintenance,
Correct.
and that's acceptable to the fire department.
The fire department's only caveat was that that specific portion should be improved for the balance of this request.
Because there's another property at the very north end of that.
Yep.
2 more.
Mm-hmm.
So those, they all have access on that road.
Any other questions? Okay. We'll close discussion on it, and I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, you may want to see if there's anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak to it.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this? Okay, hearing none. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Approve.
I move that Snyder rezone RZ 22-0034 be approved with the current conditions,
3 conditions.
whatever was on there.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Were there any opposed?
Thank you. Okay, so that ends our session for tonight. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.